I'm Robert Williams from MetalRules.com, here today in Dallas, Texas for the Texas Frightmare Weekend convention, where momentarily shock rock icon Alice Cooper will be presented with the Lifetime Achievement Award in recognition of his years of shocking and rocking, immediately preceded by a Q&A session with his fans.
Without any further ado, the master of shock rock, the guy who did it before Kiss, before Wasp, before Marilyn Manson, Alice Cooper. Hello. Are we rolling with this? Is this mic on? Oh. Okay. Hello.
I'm not used to being in front of all these people with a mic.
Never happened before, right? All right, well, I know you got questions, so let's see some hands come up.
No math.
Alice, in 1975, you taped the ABC special, The Nightmare, featuring narration by Vincent Price and also pre-MTV music videos for all the songs on the Welcome to My Nightmare album. Since Welcome to My Nightmare, the concert was released on DVD, can we ever hope to see The Nightmare, the special, released on DVD?
The lucky thing about me is that I don't do any business at all. I stay so far away from business that, in all honesty, I don't have any idea how much I make in a concert. I don't have any. They learned a long time ago never to put me in charge of any business, because everything would be free pretty much. I would just, yeah, Scott, come in. I don't care. I don't see why artists should have any knowledge of business at all. That totally kills the idea of what they're doing. If somebody asks me a question like that, who has the rights? I go, I don't know. I wrote it, but somebody has the rights to it. I know I own a piece of it or part of it or whatever. But I would never know what the contractual thing would be. It was fun having Vincent Price on that, though. When Bob Ezrin and I were talking, we said, who do we want to do this? Who do we want to be the curator of the Spider Museum? And of course we thought, well, Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, who's alive from that era. And Vincent Price came up, and of course that was the perfect one. That was the one that we called him. He came down, and he says, "Do you mind if I rewrite it?" And I said, "For Vincent Price, you can do anything you want with it. I'm your subordinate here." And so he rewrote part of it, and then I think he did one take. It was perfect. You couldn't outdo what he did on that, and so we didn't want to. As soon as it was done, I said, "We're not going to touch a bit of it. It's too good." And he went on to do the actual show with us. He went to Tahoe. We did Lake Tahoe, and he was on stage with us, which was, I think, the first time he was ever in any rock and roll production at all. Later on, he did the Michael Jackson thing, but we literally gave him his first platinum album.
Hi, Alice. One of the greatest television moments of all time was you were co-hosting this show called I think it was the Rock Music Awards with, was it Diana Ross?
Yeah, Diana Ross. Scary.
If you have not seen that, you can't find it on YouTube or anything, but you went out into the audience and pulled somebody out of the front of the crowd and beat the crap out of them.
It's my wife.
And then ran off stage and came back on with Goes to Hell.
Yeah.
Anything to say about ultraviolence? Because that was one of the greatest things about your shows, especially during the Good to See You Again, Alice Cooper. Ultraviolence in the shows was...
We didn't tell anybody we were going to do that, for one thing. That was the great idea behind it. I told the producer and the director, you got Diana Ross, you got Alice Cooper. I said, I can't just get up here and be the MC for the Grammy Awards or whatever the movie awards it was, the music awards it was. So at some point, I said, we've got to break down this traditional show and do something that's pure Alice. So my wife, Cheryl, who was the ballerina in the show, in the Nightmare show, was sitting in the front with a Dior gown on, but underneath she had all this black bondage stuff on. And she was sitting there very nicely and quietly, and at one point I just said to Diana Ross, I can't do this. I said, this is real, I just can't. I knocked the podium over, and I went down, I grabbed her, and I pulled her up on stage and pulled the dress off, and she's got all the black bondage, and then from the back, all of these girls with whips came out, and it was like a production number that came out of nowhere, and the camera guys didn't know what to do because we didn't rehearse it. So and it looked like when somebody gets shot on TV and the cameras don't know where to go, and it was like that. And then finally it got its position, and you realized, oh, he got us, And the funny thing was, now this is brilliant, okay? That was a brilliant move, and it really, everybody went crazy on it. During the break, Diana Ross and her people, being the professionals that they are, in 5 minutes invented an award for Diana Ross. And now the Entertainer of the Century Award. And I went, what? What? Because you couldn't upstage Diana Ross. And I went, that's brilliant. They invented an award. They put it together. They built it out of plastic somehow back there, out of things. And there it was. And I looked at her, I said, that's brilliant. I said, you guys are good. Well, you know, I wasn't going to do the show. Because I thought, well, I'm the scourge of rock and roll right now, and I got everybody terrified. Why should I do the Muppets show? That just waters me right down. And I kind of looked and said, well, let me see. Vincent Price did it. Christopher Lee did it. And I looked at all the characters. Peter Sellers did it. John Cleese. I should do this show. So we went there, and they had it. They were the greatest people in the world, Jim Henson's people. They had it all worked out that it would be a Faust. Alice trying to get Kermit to sell his soul to be a rock star, which is a very funny idea, you know. And you find yourself, the great thing about the Muppets is, you're so taken in by the characters that's on a guy's hand that they become real. So I'm, rehearsing with Miss Piggy, and I'm going, it would be funny if you put your head on my shoulder right here, and it would be funny if you put while you're talking, the hands go, oh, really? That's a good idea, Nice idea.
Thank you. You always play the bad guy in your movies and stuff. Have you ever considered going against type?
In Monster Dog, I played the hero. I hated it. But I'll tell you, can I explain Monster Dog to you people, please? Because it needs some explanation. I had just gotten out of an insane asylum for drinking. I didn't go to a country club. They actually put me in this really nice insane asylum that ghost hunters should be probably investigating at this point. And it was full of rich people that instead of going to jail, they got themselves committed to this insane asylum. At the end of that movie, though, I proved, I could go 2 months without any alcohol under really stressful, situations. I had to know my lines. I had to know, and it was acting, real acting. But getting back to the insane asylum, when I got out of the insane asylum, there was an old man. His name was Henry or something. Old, and he'd been in there forever. And I'm in my robe, and he's in his robe, and he puts his arm around me, and he goes, Alice, he says, tomorrow you're going home. He said, I'm going to still be in here, but you're going home to a wife and kids and a career. And he says, and I just want you to know that, he says, I want you to go back and get your life together and do it. And that, and I had a little tear in my eye, And he goes, and someday I'm going to get out of here. And when I do, I'm going to kill you. I went, okay, Henry, I got to go now. I don't know if they've let him out yet, but...
Well, Alice, before we leave here, just on behalf of Texas Frightmare Weekend, my production company, Almost Productions, and all these people here and the millions around the world who appreciate everything you've done for rock and roll, for horror, for mixing horror and rock and roll. We would like to present you with a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Oh, look, it's got a little dead...
befitting Alice Cooper.
Yay, for me. That's very nice. Of course, now you got to get Diana Ross one. Thank you, I appreciate it. If this wasn't so much fun for me, I would have retired a long time ago. But every time I think about retiring, I sit there and I go, that's a good idea. I wonder what that would look like on stage. The next show, I can promise you, is the bloodiest show yet. It's definitely... The other day we were talking about it with a director, Rob Roth, who's directing it, the guy who directed Beauty and the Beast. And we started looking at some sketches for some of the stuff. And I'm going, really? Really? It's going to be bloody. On a ridiculous level. Okay, thanks a lot, guys. And I'll see you around.